What's up? It's Miguel. In this video, what I want to do is I want to go over the habits that I had to adopt to remove myself from the rat race and stop living paycheck to paycheck. I still remember my turning point like it was yesterday. I was scrolling through Instagram and I was just heavily frustrated because I just simply couldn't understand and I couldn't fathom why a lot of my old classmates were living lives of luxury. They had the nice cars, they had the nice clothes, they had the nice vacations, and I was stuck in my hometown working a crappy job that I just simply did not like at all, working with people I did not like, and working in a negative environment. I still remember the calluses that I would get from my work boots, and I still remember how dirty and how I actually had to wash myself with Dawn dish soap just to remove the grease and the gunk from all the equipment that I would use at work. Here's a picture of what I used to look like when I was actually working at that minimum wage paying job. So I actually got frustrated, and it wasn't until I stumbled upon Jim Rohn, and he was heavily emphasizing on removing yourself from the 97%. And one of the habits that you need to adopt and one of the things that you need to understand is that reading is fundamental in order to get anywhere in life, in anything. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to get financially ahead. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to get academically ahead or if you're trying to get ahead into any field whatsoever. Reading is going to be your core foundation and the very first step to be able to progress in anything. So I just needed access to the right information, and I knew that I needed to move quickly because the time wasn't on my side. So I decided to Google the lists and to Google the recommendations that Jim Rohn gave to be able to become financially successful. And one of the books that kept on coming up time and time again was The Richest Man in Babylon. The first time I read it, I honestly didn't understand it. It was written in the 1920s, and I thought that the information was outdated. So I decided to leave it aside for a couple of months, and I see that I remained the same. Nothing was changing. I was still in the negatives, and I was still broke. So it got to the point to where I either made it work or I was just simply destined for a life of poverty. And I honestly wasn't going to accept that by any means. So I locked in and I began to read it over and over again. And one of the fundamental things that I learned from it was to pay yourself first. This is going to be something so simple, but it's so easy to overlook that it makes it almost impossible for people to apply. I said it time and time again to thousands of different people, and not a single one of them have came back and told me like, hey, you know what, that one piece of advice that you gave me actually worked. Because it's so easy and it sounds so easy that it doesn't necessarily give it doesn't give the idea, or it doesn't give it the space to actually make you wonder or make you see how it's actually gonna matter in the long run. But when I started applying this, I started saving $5 a day. Not $5 a day, $5 a week. $5 a week because that's all I could afford. I was struggling just to make it by every single week. I just simply didn't know how it was gonna make a difference. But I decided to stick to it no matter what. And I stuck to it for a month, and it was $20 at the end of the month. The second month I had $40. This was a pretty decent milestone for me because I was negative at the end of the month. And now I had a full tank of gas that I could finally get if I was ever in a rut. So that was actually my first milestone when I remember I was like, oh, maybe this does work. Man, maybe if I stick to it a little bit more and if I'm a little bit more aggressive, I mean, obviously it's gonna keep on working, but I see that I'm able to sustain it at least. I gave myself that proof that I was the type of person that could at least start saving, even if it was just a little bit. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need to prove to yourself that you are the type of person that can do this. So I did it, and I kept on doing it for months on end. I kept on ignoring the balance, and I just paid it no mind until eventually I got my first $500. When I got my first $500, this did a whole plethora of things for me. This gave me the ability to start focusing on different things and different avenues and begin to see opportunities that I wasn't able to see before, because I was so fixated on how I was going to pay for gas at the end of the week, because I was so fixated on if I was going to have any money to be able to cover my bills at the end of the week or at the end of the month. So the mental peace alone for a fraction of your paycheck, for like literally just a small insignificant fraction of your paycheck, is going to be very well worth the investment, because it's not just the money that you're saving and it's not going anywhere, like it's still there, but it's the peace of mind that you're investing. Like it's that, just that safety net that you're giving yourself. So what I started doing is I actually started to speak differently. I started to interact with people differently, because I knew that at least I had some money in my pocket. And you begin to move differently when you're broke. People can actually like feel the brokenness off of you, whether you believe it or not. And I became more aggressive with a lot of the things that I was investing in. If I was investing a little bit of like $20 here and $20 there into my education, I started buying my first courses. I started getting into like different businesses like drop shipping. I started getting into social media marketing agency courses and stuff like that. I'm still in the middle like of the trenches, but I'm a lot further than I was at that time. And I understand that looking back at it now, if I didn't develop this one skill, and if I didn't develop this foundation to where I could just keep on investing that 10% over and over again, then none of this would have been possible. So my call to action for you right now is to simply start saving 10% every single paycheck. If you can't do 10%, do 5%. If you can't do 5%, do 3%, but do something. And then eventually just gradually increase the amount to the point to where you can actually live a comfortable lifestyle while still living off of the 90%. So that's my spew for the day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.